Have you ever wondered how historical events shape the world we live in today? Let's think of history as a grand tapestry with each thread representing an event. Each of these threads, whether large or small, intertwines to form patterns, creating the world we know today. This interplay of events and their impacts can be likened to the butterfly effect, a concept originating from chaos theory where a small change can make much bigger changes happen. Just like the flutter of a butterfly's wings can ultimately cause a tornado elsewhere, even the smallest occurrences in history can lead to significant shifts in our world. Take a moment to consider the magnitude of this idea. Imagine, for instance, if the printing press had never been invented. Without this revolutionary device, the spread of knowledge and literacy would have been far more difficult. The Renaissance and the Enlightenment might have taken a different path. And who knows how that would have affected modern society and culture? Or ponder on what might have happened if the American Revolution hadn't been successful. The world might have seen an entirely different political landscape, with a possible domino effect on subsequent revolutions and the birth of other nations. These examples are just the tip of the iceberg. There are countless other events, some seemingly minor at the time, that have had profound impacts on our world. In this video, we'll explore some of these significant historical happenings and their ripple effects. We'll delve into the birth of democracy in ancient Greece, the transformative power of the Industrial Revolution, the devastation and political reshaping after the World Wars, and the dawn of the digital age. So, buckle up as we take a journey back in time to understand our present through the lens of the past. We'll unravel the threads of history, one event at a time, to see how they've interwoven to create the world we inhabit today. You might be surprised at just how much our present has been shaped by the past. Our first stop is ancient Greece, the birthplace of democracy. This fascinating civilization, renowned for its philosophers, mathematicians, and poets, also gave the world one of its most enduring political systems. Let's rewind to approximately 508 BC to the city-state of Athens. Here, a radical political shift occurred, a shift that would forever alter the course of human history. Athenians decided to shun monarchy and aristocracy and instead introduced a system where every citizen had a voice, a system known as democracy. The very term comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. Power to the people, quite literally. This was an unprecedented experiment. Every male citizen, regardless of wealth or social status, could participate in the political life of the city. They could vote, they could speak, and they could influence the laws and policies that governed their lives. This was a striking departure from the norms of the time, a beacon of equality and freedom in a world dominated by rulers and monarchs. The Athenian model of democracy wasn't perfect, of course. It excluded women, slaves, and foreigners, but it laid the groundwork for the democratic principles we hold dear today. The idea that all citizens have an equal say in the decisions that affect their lives. This system, born in the cradle of Western civilization, has had a profound influence on modern democratic societies. From the town halls of New England to the parliaments of Europe, echoes of Athens can be heard. Every time we cast a vote, every time we exercise our rights to free speech and assembly, we are participating in a tradition that dates back over 2.5 millennia. The seeds sown in Athens have grown into the democratic societies we see today, proving that ideas from thousands of years ago still shape our world. Moving forward in time, we arrive at the Industrial Revolution, a period of radical change and progress. This transformative period, spanning the late 18th and early 19th centuries, fundamentally shifted the way goods were produced and economies were structured, leaving an indelible mark on our world. Before the Industrial Revolution, economies were primarily agrarian, with goods produced by hand and on a small scale. But a series of innovations, from the steam engine to the power loom, kick-started a shift towards mechanization. Suddenly, goods could be produced faster, more efficiently, and on a much larger scale. This shift from manual labor to mechanized production was nothing short of revolutionary. Yet the revolution didn't stop at production. It also reshaped our economic landscape. The advent of factories brought about a new class of industrial capitalists who owned and controlled these means of production. This was the birth of capitalism as we know it, a system where private ownership and profit motive drive economic activity. At the same time, we saw the rise of mass production. Goods were no longer made one at a time, but in large quantities. This brought down the cost of goods, making them more accessible to the average person. It also led to the growth of consumer culture as people were able to buy more and more products. These shifts, from the rise of capitalism to the concept of mass production, have shaped the world we live in today. Our modern global economy is built on these foundations. We see the legacy of the Industrial Revolution in our factories, our financial systems, and our consumer culture. It's in the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, and the gadgets we use every day. This transformative period has left a lasting impact not just on our economies, but also on our societies and our ways of life. Its influence is felt in every corner of our modern world, from the largest corporations to the smallest households. As we can see, the echoes of the Industrial Revolution still resonate in our modern economy. Next, we travel to the tumultuous period of the World Wars, a time of conflict that shaped our current world order. The first half of the 20th century was dominated by two of the most devastating wars in human history, World War I and World War II. These were conflicts on a scale never seen before, involving a multitude of nations and resulting in the loss of millions of lives. The aftermath of these wars left the world in a state of upheaval and chaos, but also gave rise to a new vision for global peace and cooperation. In the ashes of World War I, the League of Nations was formed with the noble aim of preventing such a catastrophe from happening again. However, it failed to accomplish its mission, and the world plunged into another horrific war just 2 decades later. World War II was even more destructive than its predecessor, and its conclusion in 1945 signaled the end of an era. The world had witnessed the horrific potential of nuclear warfare, and it was clear that a new approach to international relations was needed. Out of this realization, the United Nations was born. The UN was, and still is, a beacon of hope in a world marred by conflict. Its formation marked a significant shift in the way nations relate to each other. No longer would the world be a playground for the ambitions of a few powerful nations. Instead, all nations, big or small, would have a platform to voice their concerns and work together towards a common goal. The UN's principles of promoting peace, fostering cooperation, and upholding human rights have since shaped international relations and global policies. These principles continue to guide the world, even in the face of new challenges such as climate change, terrorism, and global inequality. The scars of the world wars gave birth to the United Nations, a testament to humanity's desire for peace and cooperation. Finally, we arrive in the late 20th century, a time of rapid technological advancement and the dawn of the information age. As if history was building itself up to this very moment, the world saw the digital revolution unfold, a metamorphosis that forever altered how we communicate, work, and live. The digital revolution, much like its industrial predecessor, was not a single event, but rather a series of breakthroughs. It began with microprocessors and personal computers, which initially seemed like novelties but soon became indispensable. These machines, once seen as the exclusive domain of science and industry, found their way into our homes, offices, and eventually our pockets. Then came the internet, a network of networks that connected the globe in an intricate web of information. It started as a project by the US Department of Defense, but quickly spread to universities and then to the public, democratizing access to information like never before. The internet broke down geographical barriers, making it possible to communicate with someone on the other side of the world in real time. The digital revolution didn't stop at personal computers and the internet. It continued and continues still with the rise of smartphones, social media, artificial intelligence, and more. These advancements have profoundly shaped our modern world, influencing everything from how we shop and learn to how we form relationships and perceive ourselves. Yet it's essential to remember that the digital revolution, like all revolutions, brought not only benefits but challenges. Issues of privacy, security, and the digital divide remind us that every advancement carries its own set of implications. The digital revolution has propelled us into the information age, a period that continues to transform our world in unimaginable ways. As we stand on the brink of new technological frontiers, it's worth reflecting on how far we've come and more importantly, considering where we might be heading